And all the days that Enoch lived upon earth were 365 years. And when Enoch had ascended into heaven, all the kings of the earth rose and took Methuselah, his son, and anointed him. And they caused him to reign over them in the place of his father. And Methuselah acted uprightly in the sight of God, and his father Enoch had taught him. And he likewise during the whole of his life taught the sons of men wisdom, knowledge, and the fear of God. And he did not turn from the good way, either to the right or to the left. But in the latter days of Methuselah, the sons of men turned from the Lord. They corrupted the earth. They robbed and plundered each other. And they rebelled against God, and they transgressed. And they corrupted their ways, and would not hearken to the voice of Methuselah, but rebelled against him. And the Lord was exceedingly wroth against them. And the Lord continued to destroy the seed in those days, so that there was neither sowing nor reaping in the earth. For when they sowed the ground in order that they might obtain food for their support, behold, thorns and whistles were produced, which they did not sow. And still the sons of men did not turn from their evil ways, and their hands were still extended to do evil in the sight of God, and they provoked the Lord with their evil ways. And the Lord was very wroth, and repented that he made man. And he thought to destroy and annihilate them, and he did so. In those days when Lamech the son of Methuselah was 160 years old, Seth the son of Adam died. And all the days that Seth lived were 912 years, and he died. And Lamech was 180 years old when he took Ashmuah, the daughter of Elijah, the son of Enoch, his uncle, and she conceived. And at a time the sons of men sowed the ground, and their little food was produced. Yet the sons of men did not turn from their evil ways, and they trespassed and rebelled against God. And the wife of Lamech conceived, and bare him a son at the time, at the revolution of the year. And Methuselah called his name Noah, saying, the earth was in his days at rest, and free from corruption. And Lamech his father called his name Menachem, saying, this one shall comfort us in our works, and miserable toil in the earth, which God hath cursed. And the child grew up and was weaned, and he went in the ways of his father Methuselah, perfect and upright with God. And all the sons of men departed from the ways of the Lord in those days, as they multiply upon the face of the earth with sons and daughters. And they taught one another their evil practices, and they continued sinning against the Lord. And every man made unto himself a god, and they robbed and plundered every man his neighbor as well as his relative, and they corrupted the earth, and the earth was filled with violence. And their judges and rulers went to the daughters of men, and took their wives by force from their husbands, according to their choice. And the sons of men in those days took from the cattle of the earth, the beasts of the field, and the fowls of the air, and taught the mixture of animals of one species with another, in order to therewith to provoke the Lord. And God saw the whole earth, and it was corrupt. For all flesh has corrupted his ways upon earth, all men and all animals. And the Lord said, I will blot out man that I created from the face of the earth, yea, from man to the birds of the air, together with cattle and beasts that are in the field, for I repent that I had made them. And all men who walked in the ways of the Lord died in those days, before the Lord brought the evil upon man which he had declared. For this was from the Lord, and that they should not see the evil which the Lord spoke of concerning the sons of men. And Noah found grace in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord chose him and his children to raise up seed from them upon the face of the whole earth. Hello, it's Tuesday, July 15th. 2014. This is your host, Mike Callahan, and this is the Watchman News. That might have been a little bit, made you wonder a little bit too, just like last night's show. I'm proud to announce we had our first dislike. I thought I was doing something wrong. I really thought I was doing something wrong because 2 weeks went by, and now one video was disliked. I'm thinking, wow. So apparently I'm starting to do things right, huh? So I have no idea what this person's reason for disliking the video was. It really doesn't bother me. Like I say, the more dislikes I get, the more right I feel I'm doing, the better job I feel I'm doing, uh, because that's just the way it works. People don't like to hear the truth. So I'm going to assume without knowing, and I hope that person, please, by all means, if you're listening, go to the Facebook page and tell me what you didn't like. Did you not like the reading from the book of Enoch? See, I expect a lot of backlash from reading from the book of Enoch, uh, the book of Apocrypha. Tonight's reading was from the book of Jasher, and I expect to get a lot of backlash from that. But let me explain something, okay? And we'll just stick with the book of Jasher. I want to do some news tonight, and so we'll stick with the book of Jasher. However, I want to show you something here. I'm working on it. I'm going to show you something here. Right here. All I did was go into Bible Gateway, and I searched Jasher, King James Version. Right here, Joshua, chapter 10, verse 13. And the sun stood still, and the moon stayed, until the people had avenged themselves upon their enemies. Is not this written in the book of Jasher? So the sun stood still in the midst of heaven, and hasted not to go down about a whole day. Or, 2 Samuel chapter 1, verse 18. Also he bade them to teach the children of Judah the use of the bow. Behold, it is written in the book of Jasher. So go ahead, pick your Bible up, open it up, and find that book of Jasher. Why isn't it in there? From Joshua chapter 10, verse 13, well, that sounds like it might be something important that we might need to know, huh? You know, the book of Jasher explains in much more detail about that time that the sun stood still. That's an interesting thing to know about. Very interesting. I mean, can you imagine? Could you imagine what it would be like to be standing on this earth and the sun never go down for an entire day? That would be pretty, well, I think it would scare a lot of people. It'd be pretty miraculous. So why would they not want to include that in the Christian Bible? Those are the questions you need to be asking. And then you need to ask those that were responsible for the removal of those books, why? You know, when I first got into studying the Word of God, I didn't just stick with the Christian story. I started studying various religions and various beliefs. In my heart, I just knew that's what I was supposed to be doing. You know, we get so caught up in traditions. You know, whether it be little traditions or big traditions or whatever, you know. My dad, every year, it never failed, and all he ever wanted for Christmas was a box of chocolate-covered cherries. And so that was a tradition. Every year we made sure my dad had a box of chocolate-covered cherries. That's all he wanted. That's a little tradition. That's no, you know, definitely nothing monumental, and definitely nothing that could cause us to be confused in the Word of God. I urge everybody to learn as much as you can. You know, the Bible was written on one region, and there were people that lived in many more regions on this earth. And if you start looking at the different belief systems, you'll notice a lot of similarities in between them. I've heard the words before, you know, oh, the Bible is the infallible Word of God. Yeah. Okay. It's one version of it. What about the others? You know, you're not turning your back on God. It's just don't worship other deities or other gods. Just don't worship other gods. Stick with God being our creator, our master, the one you worship. But by all means, study other religions and other beliefs. I've studied everything from Mayan to Egyptian to Hopi Indian, and it's amazing a lot of the similarities that there are. I've studied the Anunnaki, for instance, which I personally relate directly to the giants or the Nephilim. The Anunnaki is kind of like the giants' version of things, kind of. So I always urge people to study different belief systems and all that. Just make sure you keep your heart and your mind focused as to who you worship, because it's a slippery slope. And the scary thing is a lot of this information is disappearing from the internet. Years ago, when I first started my studies, one thing that really brought attention to me is the word angel, because 95% of the people that believe in quote-unquote angels, and when I say angels, I'm talking about human-like figures with wings, live in the United States. 95%. And when I came across that little fact, I was like, okay, then what about the rest of the world? Well, I fast forward, after I'd done a lot of digging, I came up with another, or not came up with, but I learned about another term that I thought was very interesting. And there was an absolute amazing amount of information out there about it. And it was the term, the sky people. And there were just thousands and thousands and thousands of web pages that talked in depth about the sky people and different belief systems and all that. And it didn't take too long to be able to connect the two, that angels and the sky people were one and the same. Now, I don't know who came up with the idea that angels were human figures with wings, or humans with wings, or however you want to word it. I really don't understand that or get it, but I will urge you, and I'll kind of tone myself down from the subject not to cause too much controversy here, but I urge you, for what it's worth and for what few websites with decent information are left, to Google the sky people. It's very interesting what you'll find. Very interesting. But I don't intend to offend anybody with reading from the book of Jasher or the book of Enoch. That's not my intentions. My intentions are to enlighten people, because there are obviously things that were taken out of the Holy Bible that we see in the United States. And it's really important you ask questions. It's really important you go to God with it, because there's a lot of important information that are in them, and without knowing those things, you're doing yourself and you're doing God a huge disservice. And I wonder, why people would believe man. First of all, again, don't believe me. Go to God with it. That's who you should be going to. But why on earth, when God warned you himself to trust not in man and told you that man will deceive you, why are we holding on to these traditions and saying, that's crazy talk? I've got my King James Version right here, right here in my hands. I've got my King James Version. There's no book of Jasher. There's no book of Enoch. Last night I told you that Enoch was a very important person, for lack of a better word, character, whatever you want to call it. Enoch was ultimately important. Why would they take his book out? It's crazy. It's crazy. Some people might think I'm crazy for reading the book of Jasher, or the book of Enoch, or the book of Apocrypha. I kind of think people are crazy that don't. So, and from what I get from reading the Bible, God taught us that we're supposed to seek the truth. So why let tradition get in the way of seeking truth? That's not of God, that's of man. Interesting. But I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at that. Tomorrow we'll probably be back with Bible scripture. Now, I'm perfectly good and I'm perfectly fine with that. But I just wanted to spend a couple of days. Yesterday I covered a little from the book of Enoch. Tonight a little bit from the book of Jasher. In the future I'll pull something out of the book of Apocrypha. If you would like to study the book of Jasher yourself, in the About tab, I have the link to the PDF of the copy that I have. So, by all means, download it, read it. Again, it's obviously important. With the reference to it in Joshua, it's obviously something important. But I would say that the biggest thing somebody needs to do is probably start asking questions as to why it was taken out. I would think that would be somewhere good to start. So anyway, let's get on with some news. I was disappointed this morning when I seen that for whatever reason there was no news in 2 minutes. I really hope the gentleman's okay. I believe it's 2 gentlemen that do that. I hope they're doing okay. So I don't have any news in 2 minutes for you. However, Vince Swan is out running around still, and at another sitting outside of a Tim Hortons this morning. So let's see what's going on with the sun.
Good morning, folks. It is 5:50 a.m. Eastern Time. We are still in Montreal. I am still having to come to Tim Hortons to do the news, but at least this morning, I had the foresight to not go inside where all the music is playing. So hopefully this won't be as distracting of a background, although my wife, who went in to get coffee, may be coming back into the RV at any moment. So there may be that. Let's go ahead and start the screen share. We're starting with 2 major weather watches. We have the typhoon here, which is about pounding the Philippines right now. I didn't do a good job yesterday of reminding everyone that quake we had in the Philippines yesterday is the one that we have been calling out for a couple of days in the news. We talked about it on Fly on the Wall this past Saturday. The Philippines, more than just about anywhere else, including Mexico, really has this Earth's connection between the tropical storms and the quakes. Good morning, Kat. My wife is just coming back in now. She's got this, oh, I'm so sorry to interrupt you face on. It's okay, babe. Everyone understands. Anyway, so this would be our #1 watch right now. It is going to continue across, it's pretty much going right over Manila, and then it's expected to strengthen again when it gets into the South China Sea and, miss Hong Kong by just a few hundred miles west. Anyway, coming back to the Earthwing map, the only other major watches I want to mention today are for the United States and Canada. You can see, it's tough to see right there, but here's our low pressure system right here. And we also have some northern flow right here as well. Here's our convergence on the leading east edge. And, excuse me, there we go. These are our severe storm watches today and flood watches. And these do, I know they usually only show what we have right here to the United States, but the storms will go up into Canada here. Nice swath of it here where we won't have as many thunderstorms. We're going to watch for a tropical storm development here, speaking of Mexico, here in the eastern Pacific. That'll be something we're going to look for. And also, last but not least on the weather, that low that is just up in Canada there on its western side is driving major cold down into the United States. So hold on to your hats if you don't feel this yet, especially here on the East Coast. In Montreal, we still don't feel this cold yet, but it is certainly coming. Luckily, this was a much lighter day on earthquakes. Central America did continue rocking for a little bit, and Oklahoma still shaking. But no more 6-pointers like we had the last days. Let's quickly move over to space weather. There's not much to report. The solar flaring has been on a major decline, especially as the big sunspots departed. This little grouping here, this, and looks like we may have one cresting right now, but all in all, we're back to a blank sun. The main thing that we talk about is we did take a bit of an interplanetary shock yesterday, but it may have been a little more than the coronal mass ejection, and as you can see, it updates pretty dynamically every 5 minutes there. But what I commented before was that the CME looked so weak we might not even be able to notice it amidst the telemetry, and we indeed were able to notice it. I don't know if you guys can see that high reading right there. That is what we're calling the interplanetary shock wave from the coronal mass ejection. We also have some higher readings here, followed by a speed ramp. And as you guys know, you can't have part of the same coronal mass ejection be speedier than the start of it and have it arrive later. It doesn't make sense. So what this is right here, a density bulge followed by a speed ramp, that's the coronal hole stream. So the CME did impact Earth. It was pretty weak, and that happened right before the coronal hole stream, which is kicking in right now. Quickly go back over to spaceweather.com. When you guys are doing this yourselves, by the way, spaceweather.com is a terrific resource. Go and move the KP index. Yeah, at one point there was a borderline instability, but didn't even really hit KP4. Let's take a look at the last 24 hours of our star here to close. No eruptions. The coronal hole that we are taking, remember this one you see up down south is a U shape, and this was facing Earth 3 days ago. I imagine that's the coronal stream we're taking right now. We should expect maybe to see something from this. Can't wait to see the rest of that coronal hole. Filaments are still there. Now I'm really starting to watch this one. That's a pretty big filament. We have another one up here. All in all, it was a quiet day on our star and on the planet Earth. The weather watches are probably primary today. Eyes open. No fear. Again, now it's 5:55 a.m. Eastern Time, and that's the news. Be safe, everyone.
All right, that's Ben Swan. Sounds like he has a little bit of internet trouble there. So, among other issues, and my issues, like a phone ringing, gotta love sales calls. Anyway, it was a pretty quiet day. Was checking things out. His video link, by the way, is down in the About tab. A lot of things, you listen to it and you may not really understand, especially without seeing the pictures and stuff. But I always like to play the audio because for those that are familiar a little bit with the terminology, they can pretty well get an idea what's going on with what's being said. So, that being said, one other thing in news, I swear I think we need to start a class action lawsuit against companies that make coffee pots. I realized that this morning because I don't know what kind of dinky cups that they use, but I'll tell you what, every time I pour a cup of coffee, it comes out to be about 2 of their cups. So I think we need to start a class action lawsuit. That way maybe we can give some lawyers millions of dollars and get a couple bucks ourselves. So anyway, just a little bit of humor there. We were blessed with another episode of Radioactive Reality. I really enjoy watching this guy. He really knows his stuff. And gives the best information, really. About once a week, he updates us on what's going on with Fukushima and other places like WIP, and WIP is in New Mexico, I do believe. And then what is the other one? Hanford, I believe it is, which is what is that, in Washington? Boy, I should know this stuff better than this. But I let him explain it. So anyway, without further ado, let me pull this up on the screen. He allows people to reshare his videos, so that's why I do show you his video, because I'm sure he appreciates it. So anyway, here you go.
It is the 15th, 7th, 2014. This is your Radioactive Reality. Day number 1222. Let's get started. Any news? Japan experts warn of more quakes off Fukushima coast. Government, there's there's fear relatively large ones will occur. Recent magnitude 6.8, a delayed tectonic reaction to the magnitude 9.0 on 311. So they're saying they're still getting aftershocks from the 9.0 back in 311. Quote, this is just one aftershock of several to come. Could occur in the next 2 weeks. Again, Japan has historically had an active seismic zone, tsunamis throughout history, typhoons, the works. What a great place to build nuclear power plants. Officials, radioactive material released into air from Fukushima plant, areas far away being contaminated. Government tracking plumes using emergency prediction system. Quote, large amounts of radioactive substances will soon be released. This is based on a study they did back in 2013, where apparently a large amount of crops 20 kilometers away from the Fukushima plant were contaminated with cesium, and they were over the 100 becquerels per kilogram guidelines that the Japanese use. Just goes to show that stuff was probably exported to the United States, Canada, or China, who all have very much more lax rules depending on where you're at as far as our daily allowable consumption of cesium. The insanity continues. Japan nuclear professor, Fukushima plant now a swamp of radioactive material. Can't stop pumping in more water because they don't know where the melted fuel went. I can't believe after 3 years and how many months now, they still don't know where the fuel is. They want to build a roof over the entire site, question mark. Continued presence of waters threatens construction of ice wall around the reactors. Basically, they're saying the rainwater is causing all kinds of havoc at the site, because they backed up all the stuff trying to get the leaking from stopping, and the place has turned into a big swamp zone. They want to pave the entire plant, basically cap it, put a roof on it. The insanity continues. And that ice wall, the water's moving too fast. They can't get it frozen, and there's too much salt in it. The water level's rising and lowering with the ocean at the plant. Blah, blah, blah. We've been through this 100 times. Fukushima press conference. Quote, to the people of the world, dangerous developments. We need your help. I vomited blood. Skin inside my mouth peeled out. No limit to radiation damage. Contamination is all over Japan. Speaker nearly cries when revealing babies in rain waiting for food after the explosion. Quote, the government didn't issue any warnings. And they're still not. They're in denial. The lawyers are in charge. This is all about profit and liability. The insanity continues. Government report nuclear waste was up to 1,600 degrees Fahrenheit during WIP plutonium release. The WIP plutonium release. Don't worry, folks, there's no immediate danger. Concern that heat chemically or physically changed contents of other drums, increased hazard of spontaneous reaction, may have already occurred. May have already occurred. Over 50 drums at risk. Way more than over 50 drums at risk down there. And the lies and the manipulation and the round at the website goes. We all know the story. We've been following this stuff too long. Kitty litter. Kitty litter. Fukushima radioactive releases into ocean can continue for thousands of more years, says nuclear expert. I'm going to guess millions. Japan government concerned with tracking radioactive waste in the Pacific as it returns to Fukushima from the United States coast after several decades. We're not testing our waters. Don't worry, folks. There's no radiation getting this way. The Japanese are concerned about when it comes back to in a few decades. What's going on the west coast of the United States and Canada? Big mystery. And of course, they had the big quake, 6.8 off the coast of Fukushima, pretty close to the plant actually. And big typhoon hit the same exact area, and of course did water leak out of the Fukushima plant during the typhoon. They have been historically known to release God knows how many amounts of water during typhoon season off the coast of Fukushima in the last 3 years. I can tell you how many times we've reported that they released water during the storm. And these shady things that go on when you have the Japanese mafia running the cleanup operation, and of course our well-trusted politicians in charge of the situation at their government house there. Got all kinds of things to look forward to, because nobody wants to blame the nuclear industry for anything. Insanity continues. Health effects in the U.S. from Fukushima radiation, ? Stanford professor, am I concerned, ? Yes, I am. That's because I know radiation. There's an increased risk. Avoid radiation as much as you can. It's in the very air we breathe now. It's in the water. It's in the food. It is everywhere. No escape, folks. UC Berkeley nuclear professor, everyone is really scared of it. That's what the big problem is. Enjoy your bananas and your potato chips. And from the big storm, 45-foot waves off Japan coast from massive typhoon. Storm chaser, biggest I've ever seen. Absolutely overwhelming. Rains on an unseen scale. High danger of landslides. Record rainfall up to 16 inches already. The astronauts were saying that New Guy has literally been cut in half. Unreal. The storm was so massively big. And again, TEPCO's been known to release water during these storms into the Pacific Ocean. There's no telling what's really going on out there because they're not telling us. Fukushima Diary did a big switch up. It's a completely different site now. I'm going to go ahead and provide a link to that. But they've got some stories going on about the spent fuel pools in number 5 and number 6. Number 5 spent fuel pool cooling system shut down, and the water is literally heating up. They're saying they've got like just a few more days before this thing starts to go critical. No real word lately. The last word was on July 11th. Reactor 5 temperature jumped 13 degrees Celsius while losing coolant system for 2 days. They're having coolant system of reactor number 6 spent fuel also suspended for 2 hours. So they're having problems keeping these spent fuel pools cooled for some reason at the Fukushima plant. And of course, everything's perfectly under control. No immediate danger. What do you do? That's about all I have for you today. Of course, if I missed anything, please let me know. Attach your videos or comments below. Enjoy what you can, everybody. Thanks.
That was Nibiru Magic 2012. Again, the link is down in the About tab. Go check it out. Subscribe to him once a week. He generally once a week releases a video, and just packed full of information. Other news, well, thank God for looking over someone today. I really thank him for looking over someone today. Had a nasty blowout at a relatively high speed, so just glad she's okay. Glad she made it home okay. Another news, because there is a country beyond ours. Can you believe that? This thing with Israel and Palestine, as if that's not bad enough, you've got people in this country acting like it's a football game and constantly cheering on one side or the other. And it seems like everybody forgets that these are men, women, and children that are dying. Time to wake up, folks. It's not a football game. Killing people is wrong. It doesn't matter who you support. This isn't high school. Knock it off. Please. Knock it off. I guarantee you, unlike in the Old Testament, God's not telling either side to kill the other side. First off, you have to understand that Israel is no longer ran by the Jewish people as we know it, or as we read about, or, however you want to word it. It's ran by a bunch of Zionists. So why on earth, unless you are a Zionist, why would you support the Zionists? It's absurd. Educate yourselves. Learn who it is that's behind these countries, all of them, including our own. Learn who is really in control. Then you may have a little better understanding of what is really going on. But, today you can associate to so many other times in history, whether it be Nazi Germany or whether it be, back in Rome right before the fall. And Rome is what I'm speaking of, or thinking of anyway, because they did the same thing then with the gladiators and all that. It's the same thing. They get people totally distracted. When we had our guest on, Kenny kept talking about the tribal mentality, and that's what it is. It's a tribal mentality. Knock it off. We're on the same team. We're all humans. Humans. Doesn't matter what color you are. Doesn't matter what religion you're behind. It just doesn't. I don't lump myself in with Christians because I really don't want to take on that label. I'm a servant of God, I'm a believer in God, and I fear God. I don't need a label. And I definitely don't want lumped in to a group of people, and I don't say this to be offensive, but to where the majority of them have totally lost touch with what God was trying to teach. I don't want lumped in with that. And I'm not generalizing and saying all Christians are that way. But open your eyes and look around. It seems to me like it's more tribalism. Most all these religions is a form of tribalism. I don't know. I don't understand it. I don't think I'm meant to understand it. Because if I did understand it, I probably wouldn't be able to give the word that I do give. So I'm blessed with not having to pick a team. I never was into that, not even in high school. Anyway, an update on a story. Not much of an update, but last week I did a story, I believe it was Friday, about Department of Homeland Security, and my goodness, there was a bunch of factions there that swooped down on a small town that I lived real close to, Livingston, Illinois. And Department of Homeland Security was there, State Police was there, I can't remember who was all there, but there was so many. You would have thought there was a terrorist cell or something of some sort and some size that was training or about ready to attack the town or something. It was absurd, the response that it got. Apparently, and of course I don't know the whole story, but apparently a person had some inappropriate images on their computer. And I've heard that it was child porn. I heard, hearsay, which I don't like to get involved with. But apparently it is a fact that it had something to do with, or at least the information, factual information that we were given, let me word it that way, was that it had to do with inappropriate images that were on a computer. Really? Really? So, like, between the state, county, and local police, they couldn't handle that? We had to bring in Black Hawk helicopters and armored vehicles? Come on, folks. Wake up. Smell the roses. please? This is our country. And in the not too far future, it's our children's country. Is this what we want to leave them? You know, I'm not trying to defend, you know, let's say it was child porn. I'm not trying to defend somebody that does something like that. Not whatsoever. But you don't need the Department of Homeland Security swooping in with helicopters. You don't need multiple armored vehicles. You know, what they are doing is getting people used to this type of response. Do you realize how many SWAT team raids that there are now in comparison to, say, in the 80s? It's crazy. It's totally crazy. It's unnecessary. What they're doing is desensitizing the public. They're making this a normal thing. They started doing it with media long ago. Why do you think they have the shows that they have on TV? You know, probably the most dangerous thing we have on this planet is opinion. Seriously. Because there are so many people that are out there throwing out their opinion that is based on nothing but feelings, emotions. That's scary. And if it don't seem to scary to you, it's a fact that it should be. That's not my opinion. That's a fact. Because if we just base things off of emotion, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. You know, if a woman is not faithful to her man, and her man comes home early and sees them together and gets a gun out of his desk drawer or something and shoots him, he acted on emotion. He acted on emotion. Now I would hope that you all don't think that he acted correctly. I realize that hurts. I realize that's upsetting. But it's no reason to take another man's life. That's what acting on opinion, that's what acting on emotion gets you. You know, it's okay to have opinions, it's okay to have emotions, but don't, you know, use your head. Use your head, and always use education, always use knowledge first. Well, I should say second. Use the Word of God first. But, really, I mean, if you've seen the video of it or whatever, it was ridiculous. And then there was an medical chopper, which is, I know in different areas it's called something different, but that's another area I know it's called Life Flight or Life Flight, something like that. But it's basically a medical helicopter that, you know, flies patients to hospitals and stuff. You know, it wasn't needed. It was not needed. For a guy who supposedly had pictures on his computer. Really. You know, I have to question this story just because of the reaction, to be quite honest. I really have to question the validity of the story to begin with. But it sounds to me a little bit more like something called practice. Wake up, folks. This is your country. Okay? The guy had inappropriate images on his computer, supposedly. And that's the reaction. You've got states like New York and Connecticut and California to where they're actively violating people's Second Amendment rights. You know, why are we even debating about constitutional rights? How can it even be a debate? You know, I have friends from all sides of the aisle. And I have friends that are against guns. You know, and that's fine. They have a right to their opinion. See, that's our First Amendment right. I don't think a lot of people even realize what's in that Constitution anymore. You know, like me and Kenny had talked last week. You know, a lot of people don't even understand that we are a constitutional republic in this country. We're not a democracy. People were tricked into believing that. We are not a democracy in this country. In other words, mere opinion gets you nowhere. Okay? And just because majority rules doesn't mean that gets you anywhere either. This country, and you know, our forefathers designed it to be able to protect the single guy from the majority. Okay? And there's just so much that's going on in this country. I mean, now it's not safe to be a Christian, if you so use that word. Our troops are being forced to honor the Muslim religion, but yet being prevented from talking about Christianity, talking about God or worshiping Jesus. It does make sense once you see the big picture. When you open your eyes and you open your mind, you see who's in control, you see the game plan, you understand what's going on. It makes perfect sense what they're doing. What doesn't make sense is how they're getting away with it. It's an image that I've seen floating around on Facebook quite a bit that talks about, you know, how somebody wondered how Hitler got away with what he did. And then realizing that the same thing's happening here. And it is. The very same thing. Now what's petrifying about that is the amount of technology and the type of medications and everything else that we have in this country now. And in the world, not just this country. It's bigger. I have problems with that, and I keep trying to remind people that, you know, the world is bigger than the United States. And we need to open our eyes to that. Again, it's tribalism. That's why it probably doesn't bother very many people that people are dying over in Israel and in Palestine. Because it's not here. Well, as long as Americans aren't dying, well, guess what? Americans are dying. There are major corporations that are putting chemicals in our food and in the air and in the water. And it is killing people. Is it better to die slow? Is it better to die from some disease? Or is it better to die from a gunshot wound? I'll let you decide that. As for me, I'm going to do my best to stay away from as many of those chemicals as I can. Do my best. It's hard to do nowadays. Especially with GMOs, it's almost impossible to do now. But that's crazy talk. And I need to buy some more tinfoil, I suppose. But yet people won't pick up a package and read the ingredients in the back of it. Heck, you probably can't pronounce half of them. But yet you want to use opinion. Now, I'm not speaking to everybody, but the majority want to use opinion and say, oh, they're not doing that. They're not doing that. I've got a little bit of an issue going on, or will be going on. I'm going to have to, at some point, go to court over a decision that was made from Child Services in Missouri, in which, again, it was opinion. They didn't interview anybody that would really know anything, which I thought was interesting. It's really interesting. But anyway, part of the claims is that I told my son that they were poisoning his school food. And now I never said that. Now, me and my soon-to-be ex-wife did have discussions about, uh, and I did use the words poisoning the food. I have said that because that's what they're doing. Again, you see where opinions cause problems there? Just because some uh, lady, for lack of what I'd like to say, I need to be godlike. I fail. Forgive me, Father. But I guess it's her opinion that everything is all okay in the land of food. Oh, people. No education, but all the opinion in the world. But I never did say that. I never did say that that they were poisoning the food. However, I did watch a few different episodes of Alex Jones to where Alex Jones said that, and that would have been where my son got it. But see, I even told this lady that, and I've got the report here right in my hand. You probably heard me rustling it around. Uh, it's like everything that I told her was apparently a lie. And all I'm going to tell this lady is good luck. I'll see you soon. I'll see you soon. With evidence and with facts in a courtroom. And, well, I'll leave it at that because why give them any reason or any knowledge as to exactly what I'm going to be doing or charges I might be pressing or anything else involved. But enough about me. This ain't about me. I'm just trying to give you a little bit of an example of just how dangerous opinion can be. It's got me in a situation to where, I'm not in any legal trouble or anything like that, but I definitely don't want uh, anything like that be said against me. Anybody that knows me knows that I absolutely adore children. I love children. In fact, a lot of people that were personally around me and my children, um, they couldn't get over the way I deal with children. I don't yell at them. I don't scream at them. I treat them with respect, and I get them to listen to me out of respect. Not a fear type of respect, but a, hey, I love you, and I'm going to explain to you why you can't do this kind of respect. My children have never heard the words from me because I told you so. They never will. And I will talk to them until I'm blue in the face to explain to them why not to do this or that. Love's the answer. Pick up the Bible. Love and truth. Love and truth. Those are the answers. You know, I can't say you want an easy life, always go with love and truth, because it's kind of the opposite. The more truth and love you put out there, the more it seems like you get persecuted. And that's fine. That's fine. Man can persecute me as much as he or she wants. As long as God's happy with me, you know, yeah, I'm of the flesh. I would appreciate a special woman to be happy with me. I'm good. That's all I need. The rest of the world can do as they see fit. You know, I'll spread the same message either way. I'll spread the same message either way. But anyway, again, enough. I mean, opinions are dangerous, folks. Just be mindful of that. So is the tribalism attitude. They're so dangerous. Try not to fall into it. Please, you know, if you get anything from me, try not to fall into those things. Study the Bible on your own and seek the truth and seek the knowledge that God wanted you to have. And if for some reason none of that's possible, then go talk to God yourself. We all have that power. Every one of us. We just got to turn off the TV, get rid of all the distractions, and talk to Him. And understand that He don't always talk back. But when there's something that He needs you to know, you'll know it. That's the wonderful thing about it. I'm looking through Um, Headlines: worst crisis in U.S.-German relations since World War II. Yeah, I'm saying. Russia expanding its Latin American influence. Yeah. A lot of stuff going on in this world. A lot of people don't realize half of what's going on. I could probably ask you what's going on with this TV show or that TV show or whatever, and you could probably explain to me in quite a bit of detail. There we go. Talk about the war on Christianity and the war on God. Non-Christian veteran wages battle to remove statue of praying soldier and Christian flag from war memorial. Why? Why is it important? Why can't we, why is it only the Christians? And again, I don't take that title upon myself. But I get the intent. And why? Why is it okay for other religions to come over here and dictate that the Christianity be removed from the country when the country was founded upon that Christianity? And you can argue with me on that, forward and backward and every other way, but I'll tell you what. There are enough things said by our forefathers in interviews and conversations and whatnot that tell the whole story. Like people want to debate the Second Amendment and it's about hunting. Really? I believe that John Adams and many other people were very clear about what that Second Amendment was about. It was about being able for us, the individuals of the country, to be able to fight off a tyrannical government. They don't want you to know that. Just hand over your firearms. That's all they want. Hand them over. Anyway, I got some closing. I'll tell you, True News, again, True News is TRUNEWS.com. TrueNews.com. TRUNEWS.com. He had an awesome show today. Very enlightening. Very enlightening. I urge everybody to go check out the show that was on True News today. Very good job. Very, very good job. I was highly pleased listening to the show. And it was actually Rick Wiles, the host of the show. I like passion. Passion's my favorite emotion. And yeah, I'm of the flesh. In all ways, I like passion, though. I like people to be passionate about God. I like them to be passionate in a kiss. I like them to be passionate about everything they do, because that simply shows that you mean it. But he got very passionate today at the beginning of his show, and it's the first time I've heard him get that passionate, and it was good to hear. It was good to hear. That's pretty much what I got for you folks. If I'm going to ask anything of you today, check out the book of Jasher. Tomorrow, go through life with passion. Be passionate about what you do. Be passionate about what you say. Stand up for how you feel. But try to base those feelings on facts, not opinions. That's what I have for you today. I love you all. May God bless you all. May God walk with you all. May you always be one with your spirit. Have a good evening.